So for those of y'all still playing Destiny 2, and I say that as a joke, I know there's a lot of, negative thoughts out there about Destiny 2 right now, and I'm trying to keep it lighthearted. I'm pretty sure those of y'all that have been still been playing, that are doing trials, have been getting this auto rifle from there that just got introduced this episode, and I gotta say, this thing, it's got potential to be in the meta for forever. It's gonna be another Igneous Hammer situation, whereas if you didn't get it, hey, tough luck. You're just gonna have to deal with it, going against people with it, and it's gonna suck. It's gonna suck bad. How's it going, YouTube? Your boy Chill here. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about the Trials auto rifle Everburning Glitz and why you need to hunt this thing before it goes away forever. And if you don't, then you are going to be missing out. Especially for the fact that it has two brand new perks that have been brought into the game that are actually very, very strong. The utility and lethality of these two perks have the potential to make any weapon god tier. It's that good. So hope you guys enjoy this video. Like, comment, subscribe if you do. Let's get into it. Alright, so going over the perks first off, in the left column we have Attrition Orbs, Lone Wolf, Subsistence, Dynamic Surge Reduction, Transcendent Moment, Bewildering Blast, and To the Pain. In the fourth column we have Elemental Honing, Kinetic Tremors, Tap the Trigger, Auxiliary Ordinance, One for All, Zen Moment, and Eye of the Storm. Now before we go into the PvE and PvP sections, really quickly I want to talk about those two brand new perks. First one, Bewildering Blast. Reloading this weapon after defeating a target causes the next hit to launch a kinetic projectile that detonates into a long-lasting disorienting blast. If any of you have used blinding GLs, it's similar to that effect. After getting a kill and reloading, simply landing a shot onto a target releases the bewildering burst projectile onto the target and creates an AoE blinding radius around a specific target wherever they are. Now, it doesn't matter which distance you have to shoot it from, as long as you make contact with them with a bullet, it will send out this flashbang. The benefit to this is that you can flashbang a bunch of enemies that are nearby your allies and they need to get out of a sticky situation. You can shoot that projectile to them, they get flashbanged, and they have the second to, get some heals in, get away, use their abilities to kill them off and get some heals, whatever they need to do. The utility of this is similar to a blinding GL. So the fact of that having on a primary weapon after just simply getting a kill is exponentially powerful. The utility in that, you cannot beat that on any other weapon. The only other weapon that can do that is a special weapon. So let that speak for itself. The first primary weapon in the entire game that can blind enemies. That is potent. And after using it in PvE for quite a bit, it saved me a lot of times when I was struggling in ultimate difficulty content. You cannot beat this perk. This perk is going to be a main staple in the meta for a long time. And secondly, we have Ancillary Ordinance. Rapid elemental final blows and final blows on targets affected by elemental debuffs periodically prepare a homing micro missile, which is launched from your target after this weapon's next final blow. More missiles can be prepared if enhanced. Now, what this means in English, any final blow with elemental weapons or abilities that debuff will load micro missiles into the auto rifle. And after getting elimination, a small micro rocket will be launched out from their body, do a couple of twirls, then home on to the nearest target in proximity to that enemy you eliminated and home into that other target. Case in point in the footage here, I was using my Wishful Ignorance build with Fledged Storm. Every melee elimination got me one rocket. Every elimination applied a debuff, which also coincided with Ancillary Ordnance, so I kept loading micro missiles into the auto rifle consistently just from getting those eliminations. And simply after that, I had those micro missiles prepped, so any elimination I would get would release a micro missile, it would chain onto another target, I still had some micro missiles prepped, kill another target, release a missile, get to another target, and I can keep that chain going, and then if I run out, I can simply get some more melee final blows and reload the micro missiles back into the weapon. This has the potential to be one of, if not the best ad clearing perk in the entire game. Now, it does depend on your build being able to debuff targets, but if your build does not have that, then I would definitely stay away from this perk. But if it does, having this coinciding with it will make this auto rifle so much stronger in PvE. With that being said, let's go over the PvE section. In the third column, Attrition Orbs. Normally for this, I don't really like it on primary weapons. Area denial GLs were actually fairly good, but they did get nerfed, so they're kind of hit or miss depending on which one you're using it on. But Attrition Orbs, personally, I do not like it. This can be very good if you're trying to fill up your font mods, your surge mods as well for your builds. In that case, if you're trying to use it as a siphon fuel for your builds, then in that case, I would recommend it. But in general play, I would try to stay away from it. Then we have Subsistence, which, is fairly decent on auto rifles. It feels, a substantial amount, especially for auto rifles. They get a lot more ammo back than other weapons do. So Subsistence is not a bad option, but in higher end content, it's going to be a little lackluster because it's hard to get eliminations. But in more lower end content, Subsistence is definitely the play. And of course, like I stated before, Bewildering Blast, getting an elimination final blow, then reloading to load up a flashbang grenade you can shoot at anywhere and have that go off. That in any content, whether low end or high end content, is going to be indispensable for anything you do in PvE. This perk is probably the bread and butter for PvE to use on this thing. It's good, man. You guys gotta try this. It's good. Then in the fourth column, we have Elemental Honing, which in the case of this weapon being a kinetic weapon, actually gets increased damage than it would with an elemental weapon, up to a max of 40% increase at stacks of 5. The best case for this weapon to use with Elemental Honing would be on Prismatic Warlock because they have a lot more access for elemental damage sources just in their kit alone. However, some of the other classes can benefit too. You just gotta make sure your weapons coincide with the elements that you're missing with your builds. It can be fairly strong, but jumping over those hurdles, it's more beneficial for DPS weapons and not primary, so generally, I would not recommend this one. Then we have One for All to increase our damage by 35% for just simply hitting 3 separate targets, which is a lot easier to take advantage of than Elemental Honing. It's still fairly strong for a primary damage buff. So in this case, One for All, if you're trying to go for damage output, One for All is definitely the way to go. Then we have Kinetic Tremors, which has always been very good for kinetic weapons. And with this being a rapid fire auto, requiring 11 bullets to proc Kinetic Tremors, you're able to proc 2 Kinetic Tremor bursts in 1 mag every time. So having that capability on a primary weapon is actually fairly strong. Pairing that with Attrition Orbs would probably be a good pairing so that way you can get the Attrition Orb faster. But just in overall, just for ad clearing benefits, Kinetic Tremors all the way 100% is indispensable for PvE. And then of course we had Ancillary Ordinance, which loads up those micro missiles as well. So again, like I said here before, Ancillary Ordinance is only beneficial if your build has debuffing for targets or you're getting a lot of elemental final blows with, your other weapons or whatever you're using. Now, if you're not using any of that, if you're going for DPS and stuff like that, then Kinetic Tremors is definitely the one I would recommend more personally. But again, if you're still going for damage output, One for All is still another good one. So with all that being said, my perfect 5 out of 5 PvE god roll would be Attrition Orbs if I'm trying to fill up my Surge and Font mods, Subsistence if I want to reload my ammo over time for just getting elimination final blows and lower end content, and the end all be all would be Bewildering Blast, so that way I can get the flashbangs from any distance wherever I'm at after getting a final blow. So having that utility just makes this auto rifle indispensable in my opinion. Then in the fourth column, the ones I would recommend would be Kinetic Tremors, just for that increased damage output for DPS on a target, for just shooting the weapon at base. And then just having that AoE ad clear as well on top of it is still fairly nice. So definitely recommend that for that situation. One for All if I'm trying to go for damage output so I can clear out ads faster if I'm hitting multiple enemies. That's definitely the way to go. And then Ancillary Ordinance is definitely the biggest winner here if I'm using a build with elemental debuffs, so that way I can load those micro missiles. I get one elimination, it releases a rocket, goes on to another target. Get another elimination with the auto rifle, another missile comes out, goes to another target. It's just an indispensable chain of rockets going everywhere with final blows, and coordination with the build that I'm already using that's already fairly strong. For the mag perk, I recommend Small Bore just because it's one of my favorite perks to use, just for the flat +7 to stability and range. You can also go Arrowhead Break as well if you want to increase the handling and recoil direction of this weapon. It's not really needed though, its weapon is fairly stable, but if you want to, you can use that one. For the mag perk, I would recommend Appended Mag if you want to increase the mag size, or Light Mag so you can increase the reload speed and bump up the range just a little bit because these autos suffer from range slightly. Or if you want to just increase the reload speed all the way, definitely Flared Mag will be another one as well. For the Masterwork, I recommend reload speed so that way we can get that reload speed as high as we can to reload faster and get back into engagements quicker. For the mods, it's a little unique. If you're using Kinetic Tremors, I would recommend Temporal Blast. If you're not using that, then I would recommend Backup Mag. But for the cases of Kinetic Tremors, Temporal Blast is definitely the one I would go personally. If you use Ancillary Ordnance with it, I feel like it would mess up with the blast proccing unintentionally with the micro missiles. So definitely Backup Mag for Ancillary Ordnance or, a damage perk. If you're going Kinetic Tremors, Temporal Blast is better. Then moving on to PvP. Now this is where things can get a little unique. In the left column, we have Lone Wolf, which has always been a tried and true perk for PvP. We all know what it does. We already know it's very good with the increased aim assist, the airborne effectiveness, and the ADS duration multi to make it very snappy. However, in this weapon, I don't really feel like it's needed, especially with the origin trait Roar of the Battle, which increases stability and handling. Having that origin trait with this auto rifle, it already feels fairly consistent and pretty snappy on its own, especially with a tier 5 and increasing the benefits to handling. It doesn't really need it in my opinion. It already feels fine without it. Now, if you really want to stack the aim assistance, pairing up Lone Wolf and a targeting mod could get you to 100 aim assistance. Now, does it need it? In my opinion, no. It's been fine without it in my experience, but if you really wanted to go that far and send it as much as you can for 100 aim assistance, then definitely go for Lone Wolf. Then we have To the Pain to increase the handling and aim assist of this weapon as you're receiving damage. Now, due to the state of the meta right now with pulses, shotgun hand cannons, and scout rifles being very prevalent right now, To the Pain is not beneficial. We need something for consistency to make sure we can stay on target while getting flinched by those weapons or getting rushed by a shotgun hand cannon. So To the Pain, I would definitely not recommend it. Transcendent Moment, I would not recommend because this is a kinetic weapon. Since it doesn't have an elemental alignment, it cannot get advantage of the buffs for either light or dark Only while Transcendent can it get both of them. So it relies solely on Transcendent to get the benefits of both sides. So due to that, Transcendent Moment I would not recommend for this auto rifle at all. Then lastly, we have Dynamic Slay Reduction. Due to this auto rifle being a 720 and being able to fire rapidly means it can get up to those max stacks of Dynamic Sway fast. And getting that increase to the stability, the decrease in accuracy cone size and growth means it's consistent and it doesn't get swayed off target from flinch as much as it would be with other perks, even when receiving fire. This one, on this archetype of auto rifle, paired with Roar of the Battle for the increased stability and handling, that makes it a laser beam, man. I'm telling you, that thing, it does not move. It feels really good, man. But yeah, dynamic sway is very, very good on this thing. It makes it very accurate and very stable. It's a night and day difference. It makes it feel smooth as hell. It's a nice perk to have. So definitely for PvP, dynamic sway reduction would be my go-to perk on this one. Then the fourth column, we have tap the trigger for the increased stability and accuracy on initial trigger pull. Now with tap the trigger enhanced, it lasts for 0.76 seconds and the TTK value of this auto rifle is 0.75. So throughout the whole TTK value of this auto rifle, you would have those benefits throughout the entirety of your TTK. However, these auto rifles can bounce a lot and can get flinched. So if you end up losing one bullet, you'll end up getting out of that range to lose your buffs for tap the trigger and you'll just be back to your normal base. So tap the trigger, in my opinion, I would not recommend going for that in that case because these weapons can tend to miss shots on occasion. So in those situations, you'll definitely feel the benefits of tap the trigger get lost before you get your elimination. Then we have a Zen moment to reduce the recoil and flinch over time. Because this is a rapid fire auto and can land hits very fast, you get the benefits almost immediately after firing. And once those benefits kick in, this thing is not moving. It's a laser beam. As long as you can stay on target, yeah, it's not moving at all. Zen moment is a very strong perk in PvP, if some of you can attest to that. So Zen moment's very good. However, we're trading that for a potential damage perk or something else to help out our TTK. So that's kind of the trade-off you got to do here. Do you want consistency or do you want TTK shifts? Then we have Iron Storm to improve our accuracy and handling as our health gets lower. And with this, with the nature of auto rifles and the way they have to engage, it does work fairly well for them. However, in my opinion, with the nature of the meta with shotgun hand cannon, scout rifles, and pulses, I would not recommend it because by the time with a shotgun hand cannon rushing you, by the time you have Isle of Storm proc, you're going to be eliminated. So not really recommended in that case scenario. And then lastly, the one I would recommend would be Kinetic Tremors. Now the TTK for this weapon is 10 headshots. Now we all can attest, with these weapons, it's very hard to get that consistent 10 headshot kill. Now with Kinetic Tremors, it does allow forgiveness for getting some body shots and having Kinetic Tremors proc to help clean up your kill in case you're not as accurate. Having Kinetic Tremors on a 720 auto rifle, we can all attest, is one of the best pairings for 720s in the entire game. Just for the ease of use factor for securing your TTKs in case you're not accurate. So this one is definitely the one I would recommend for PvP, hands down, bar none. On any 720 that can get Kinetic Tremors, it immediately shoots it to the best perk in the entire column. Hands down, bar none. Now for my perfect PvP tier 5 god roll, what I would go for is in the left column, I would go for Lone Wolf if I'm trying to overload the aim assist of this weapon with a targeting mod to get to 100. So that way it can be very sticky to the head and to the body to make sure I'm more consistent in my engagements. Then I'm going to go Dynamic Sway Reduction for the improved accuracy and stability so long as I'm holding down the trigger, which is going to be the nature of this weapon already. This is definitely the top of the list for me for PvP, but if you want to go Lone Wolf as well, that would be the one I recommend. And for the third perk, there's not really much here that I would recommend. You could use Bewildering Blast in PvP. The flashbang is kind of nice, but the odds of you taking advantage of that in PvP is few and far between, so I would not recommend it. So that's kind of up to you for the third perk that you want, but the two main ones would be Lone Wolf and Dynamic Sway Reduction. Then in the last column, the first one I would go for is Zen Moment, so that way once I'm getting damage onto an enemy, it just becomes a laser beam, does not miss, so I can be very consistent in my engagements every time I get into one. Then I would go for Kinetic Tremor, so that way I can have an easier time securing my TTK in case I happen to miss some headshots, or the target strafing a lot, or has an overshield. It can help me secure the kill more effectively in those situations. Then lastly, I would use this with Elemental Honing, so that way I can get a damage buff increase. While at ×1, it does not shift the TTK of this weapon. However, it does allow for an 8 headshot, 2 body shot kill. So having that ease of use with one stack of Elemental Honing is very nice. And with the nature of our builds right now, especially for rocking Prismatic, you can build up to ×2 and ×3 and help you secure faster TTK values at those higher end thresholds. So that would be the last one I would recommend. For the barrel, I would recommend Small Bore for the increased stability and range, but if you want a little bit extra handling, I would go Corkscrew Rifling. For the mag perk, I recommend Ricochet Round, so that way you can get the +5 to range and +10 to stability, and also allowing you to shoot behind corners and hit someone from behind cover if you know how to aim it right. For the Masterwork, I recommend range 100% because 720s tend to lack from range, so that would be the best one to pair for it. And then for the mods, I would recommend Ballistics for the increased range and stability on top of what we're already getting. But you can also go Temporal Adapter as well, so long as it's available to us. But once it's gone, definitely go back to Ballistics hands down. And that's going to do it for this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you think of this auto rifle. I got to tell you all, this auto rifle, I was not expecting it to be good, but also it's kind of a thing of the model of this weapon. The model is just very good. It's based on Hazard of the Cast and Breakneck. The model of the gun itself just feels good, and having all the perks to, you know, boost up the stability and range of this thing, it just feels good, man. Like, you can't beat a gun model like this. Like, it just feels nice. It feels good to shoot. It's got everything for success. So that's why if you miss out on this thing, I feel bad for you, man. I'm sorry. But yeah, while you can, go get this thing before it's gone forever. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe if you did. And of course, as always, I'll catch you in the next one. And don't you ever forget to keep it chill.